All right, and we are live. Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm going to give you a second to come on in the room as you all are coming in the room this evening or this tomorrow morning, whenever you get a chance to watch this video. Just come on in and we'll get started with a really great conversation we're going to have tonight, all about world travel and the motherland and really good things with Ashley Company. So I'm going to give you all a couple of seconds to come on in the room, as they say. As you're coming in the room, please feel free to drop where you're joining us from in the comments so that we can know who all is here and even give you a shout out. And, in a little bit, we'll give you some more information about a special contest that Ashley is doing with us tonight. So it will behoove you to stay tuned so you can have the opportunity to win a very special prize from Ashley and Crowned by Jelani. So come on in the room. I'm going to give you all a couple more seconds to join us. Let us know where you're coming from. For those of you who don't know me, this may be your first time tuning in to Live Well Sister. This is Marcie Thomas. I am the founder of Brown Girl Collective, your host, of course. I also do the BGC Book Club. So Live Well Sister is just a space for us to come together and be able to talk about things that will help us to live our best, most wonderful lives to the best of our ability as Black women, because we know that we do a lot of things out here in the world, but sometimes there may be areas where we're a little challenged. So this platform is just a way to talk about some of those things, to meet wonderful women and just be inspired to be the best that we can possibly be. So I'm going to go ahead. We have a few folks in the room. I'll go ahead and not hold you up this evening and introduce our guest for the evening. I have with me Ashley and Company, who is the founder of Jelani Women Travel, Jelani Girls, and Crowned by Jelani. Inspired by a dream several years ago, she made the bold move to leave her position as district manager with Pepsi to travel the world and see more than 100 countries, learn new languages, and experience different cultures. She is a social entrepreneur and the visionary force behind Jelani Women Travel and Jelani Girls. Utilizing a dual-purpose structure, she curates cultural immersion and service trips for women of color traveling to Africa while simultaneously raising funds to recreate the experience for underserved youth in both South Africa and the United States. She is a global activist and speaker, and has started this movement for women and girls of color to reimagine Africa and redefine the concept of community and identity. In addition to all of those great things that she does with travel, she's also an authoress, as I will call her. She has one book that I have here in front of me. It's Travel-ish. It is actually an adult coloring book for stress relief, and Travel Inspiration is one of her books that's available. And she also has an ebook for those who want to get more travel tips called Black Girl Travel Hacks. So without any further delay, I'm going to go ahead and bring this beautiful queen on with us. Welcome, Ashley and Company.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for that great introduction.
Yes, it's such a pleasure to have you here with us this evening. I have been following you for quite a while, and your journey and some of the things that you're doing. And then, we'll talk more about how I got more connected in a little bit, but it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. It's amazing to be here. And I know we, sometimes we face some obstacles trying to make it, but we knew that this was like ordained. Ancestors have been guiding us to meet so many synergies. I love what you're doing. And this meeting couldn't keep being postponed, like it had to happen. So thank you again for having me.
Oh, not a problem, not a problem. So tell us a little bit. Of course, you started out, your journey is very interesting because I didn't realize that you used to work for Pepsi.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, just tell us a little bit about the journey that you had, going through, college, school, however you landed in corporate America, and then deciding to make, a radical switch. And that is a radical change. So what was it that made you want to do that? It says you were prompted by a dream. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So essentially, I went to the Hampton University,
Okay.
my beloved HBCU, and when I graduated from there, I started a college hire program for to train you into corporate leadership. And so I went to work for PepsiCo, and had a district. I ran a district of about 300 small and large format stores. So it was a big job at a young age in the deep south, and I was
Mm.
younger than my employees, my full-time employees. I was definitely blacker than them, being a woman. So I had all these isms coming at me, and I really had to learn how to navigate challenges early and still be the number one small format district. So as I learned to excel throughout PepsiCo and picking up those different skills and things like that, I noticed that I knew that I would want to leave after about 3 or 4 years. That was my goal. And so when
Mhm.
that time came up, I knew ahead of time, and I started teaching myself Spanish
Okay.
because I knew that I wanted to travel, and I thought that I would start off in Latin America because it was closer. But I wanted to be safe because I also knew I was going to go by myself. So I taught
Okay.
myself Spanish. And once I left Pepsi, once I closed that chapter, I started basically from Mexico and backpacked my way all the way down
Oh,
through
wow.
all of Central America, most of South America. And then I also did one country in Africa, and that
Okay.
was the game changer. When I went to East Africa and landed in Kenya because I was
Okay.
invited by some friends in North Carolina who were from Kenya. They were going home for a wedding, and I went to join them, and everything changed. My whole entire life. As I was traveling through those different countries in Latin America, I saw that, wow, there are so many Black people who are indigenous to this area that I didn't realize
Mm.
before. So I thought that was fascinating. And then I had another thought where, as I was traveling, I met people from all over the world because they were backpacking as well, but none of them were Black. And this
Mm.
was back in 2012. And so before the huge Black travel movement came, I was one of the front people in the front saying, where are the rest of us, and how can we get more people to come? And so I decided to start with young people, but I
Okay.
didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet. I was just having that thought kind of seeping. When I got to Kenya, though, everything changed. The trip was so transformational, so life changing. So it was revolutionary, really, to be able to put 10 toes down into
Mm.
the ground from whence our ancestors came, into the motherland. And so I just thought to myself, I mean, I cried. I was just so much joy,
Mm.
just so many life-changing moments that I didn't want to just keep to myself. I wanted to share those experiences with more Black people, because I'm like, I know that a lot of us don't realize that they're globally, we the majority. And
Right.
not even just in Africa or just in the US or just the Caribbean, but all over the world, you can find Black people in the diaspora. So I thought that was a really strong thing to help young people learn that they were citizens of the world, and they can walk a little straighter if they know that they're not a minority. Right.
Right.
And so I wanted to start with young people to be able to mold them. And so I created my charity, Jelani Girls. And that's pretty much how I went from corporate leadership to social entrepreneurship, because once I left and I had that travel journey for myself, I didn't want to keep it to myself. So I created
Right.
something for young people. But then I had so many women asking to be chaperones, and I was having a pretty tough time raising money for
Mm.
people because I already had to work so much about awareness and education just to get their parents comfortable to let the children come.
Right.
Then I didn't have a lot of energy to even try to, fundraise. And I saw an aha moment went off, like, oh, if I curate these experiences for adults, I can use those funds and that profit margin to support my charity, which is why it became a social enterprise and having that social impact. And it just took off. And so now we're in 13 countries across Africa.
Okay.
We support not just women, but on private trips, any gender, any race. We've worked with schools, churches, anyone who wants to come to Africa and have the Jelani experience. By the way, Jelani means greatness. That's kind of what we're really most proud of. And of course, with the travel ban and different things happening, we've created some other things outside of just physical travel. But essentially, the most important thing in our mission is just to help Black people reimagine their greatness, because we believe that when you change the way you see Africa, you change
Right.
the way that you see yourself.
Absolutely. And I just wanted a quick sidebar because I had mentioned that there is a contest. Let me tell you how you can enter this contest before we go further, because there is going to be a question that I will ask you, and some of the things that she's saying, remember what she's saying, because it's going to be a part of the question that I ask. But in order to be entered to win the prize of a gift package from Crown by Jelani, which is another one of Ashley's businesses, we need you to like and share this video, and then just keep listening because you have to be here in order to win. So as we get closer to the end, I'm going to ask you a question. It's a two-part question. Yeah, she's showing some of what you get. You can go ahead and show them now since we're talking about it. That's
So
a head wrap.
one of the things, this is one of our African head wraps that you can see. And this one is from Ghana. Sorry,
right.
This one is actually from Mali, West Africa.
Okay.
So we have that. We also have our Crown by Jelani Africa earrings. I'll show you those. Actually, I'm wearing them.
Okay. Oh yeah, those are nice.
And we also have a Jelani Women Travel luggage tag. So just some things to keep you inspired about Africa and travel.
All right. So y'all like it, share it, let people know what's going on, and get ready to listen out for the questions that are coming a little later.
And I would like to add one thing, just in case somebody's like, I don't know anything about that. Don't worry. I will actually be able to show you how to do a head wrap. So it's too easy. Yeah. And we have tutorials on our website at crownbyjelani.com.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of the things. Actually, I think that might be one of the first places that I saw you teaching people how to wear those head wraps. So so stay tuned because we got some more to share. So you've given us a really great background of, how you decided to do this and, end up going to Africa, taking your first trip there, and then starting your business and the fundraising and all those great things. So you've given us a good overview. Outside of Africa, however, you have also traveled to, is it like 105 countries by now?
Almost 104. I'm working on 105. Right as we speak, I'm thinking about it.
You're thinking about it. Wow. So that's really exciting. So I know you said that when you were doing your backpacking and things like that, you didn't see a lot of people who look like you. As you have traveled around the world, what has been that? What has that experience been like as a Black woman, over the years? Initially you weren't seeing a lot of people that look like you, but what has that been like?
Oh, over the years, it has drastically changed. I'm so proud of some of the other leaders in the Black travel movement who had the same thoughts that I had, but went about it in different ways. Some took to Instagram, which is actually very smart because they are very big, but I wanted to focus on youth education first. And so I just think there's so many different ways that as long as we get to the goal is like getting to Africa, but also even if you're not traveling to Africa in that very moment, just traveling, it really just elevates so much of your quality of life when you see the world. There's so much you learn. The world is a classroom, really. So just the idea of traveling and understanding, I think the biggest myth is that you have to be rich to travel. And I'm here to say I've been to 104 countries and I'm still not rich. Because frankly, I'm not even close. So it can be done. You do not have to be rich. And if you're already rich, then more power to you. But it's not a barrier. Money does not have to be a barrier in the way that a lot of us think that it is.
Well, that's good to hear because and you're right. I have even noticed, there's so many different people who are approaching travel, in a lot of different ways, whether it's setting up tours or, there are a lot of different ways, or them just going and doing their thing and sharing with what they've done as travel bloggers or whatever. But what I really love about what you do and what attracted me to you is the fact that, there is that educational component for young people, because I think that it's important for all of us to know, things about where we're from or just the world in general. Personally, I was in the Air Force in my early 20s, stationed in Spain. Shame on me, I didn't learn the language like I should have. But I was stationed in Spain and spent a lot of time traveling throughout Europe. And even though it wasn't necessarily that cultural connection, it did teach me a lot. It changed my palate and the way that I eat and, just the things that I like to do. So I definitely think that it's something when people can go beyond their block, so to speak, and be able to travel. But as I was saying, what attracted me to you is that it's not just about going on the trips, that it is that educational component, that there's also a service component. So tell
Right.
us a little bit about the trips that you have for adults, what a trip to, say, Kenya would look like.
Of course, you want to know about Kenya. Um,
Yes.
I love it. So actually, yeah, Kenya, I mean, people ask me all the time, what's your favorite country? And it's hard to say when you've been to over 100. I certainly have a top 10, but Kenya could, depending on the day, could easily be number one. I mean, it changed everything for me. It's so beautiful. An itinerary in Kenya, I think what's great about it is that you can have the iconic bucket list item of a safari, and it's the best safari in the world. And so that experience, and then you can go to the coast and have this beautiful beach experience, like when people think of the waters in the Caribbean, or some people are more familiar with the Maldives, it shares the same Indian Ocean, so it's the same beautiful water and beaches. So to have, the safari experience and a national park, and then the beach, and then the people, Africans in general are amazingly hospitable, but East Africans is a whole nother level. So there's so much love, and it's the food is good, the weather's good, it's just a really good time to be able to. And then it's a major business hub for Africa. So when it comes to industry and nightlife and things like that, you can just get a little bit of everything.
Okay, we have a question here about all right, do the animals get close? Because I'm nervous thinking about it. When you go
Yeah,
to
I'm actually glad that you asked that question, because I'm not sure if you're talking about specifically the safari, but we actually have had many people ask us in general, oh, you're going to Africa, which has the 54 countries, and one of their biggest fears is that there'll be animals wherever they go. And so that certainly won't be the case. But of course, as I'm sure they're probably asking about the safari, what I really love about the safari, and I think a lot of us don't think about it here in the U.S. often. I know I didn't growing up because it's just our normal. Is that zoos are actually pretty terrible. Like you're literally caging in animals when they should be in their natural habitat, and it's solely for our viewing pleasure. And that's not really okay. So the beautiful thing about a safari is you still get to like honor the animals and see the animals and experience them, but you go to their home and actually you're the one in the cage, because your safari vehicle is what's going to protect you from those animals, because it's like caged in or very high up. And so you don't have to worry about that. If you see any crazy news things about something happening, typically it's because somebody didn't listen and they got outside of the safari vehicle. It's not a dangerous activity. It's a beautiful, serene, peaceful thing where a lot of the people who are native to that part of the country, they know the animals well, and so they actually know where they are at certain times of the day, and they work on the safari grounds, and so they'll help us go find them, because we're really in their habitat, so it's so vast that you would have to go seek them out, and when we go seek them out, we don't get that close. There's
right.
some experiences where you can get close, like on our Senegal, the Gambia experience. There's a particular area where you can walk with the lions, but those
Oh, wow.
lions have been raised by humans since they were young cubs. And that's important for a distinction for us as well, because we're eco-friendly, we're cruelty-free, so we don't believe in drugging animals just so we can walk with them or pet them or sit on them. We don't sit on them, but you can walk alongside them, and they're not wild. They're just not wild, but they're not hurt either.
Gotcha. Yes, I think that there are a lot of misconceptions of what Africa is, and much of it comes from the things that we may have learned over the years, or
In the
stuff
media.
in the media, right, that you don't know. So unless you know someone who lives there, or you have a chance to go, you don't realize. I know one of the things, myself personally, I have watched a lot of the Nollywood, the Nigerian films. And when I watch, I'm like, well, shoot, they drive cars like we drive, I mean, it
You
looks
don't rooftops like
different,
we do.
obviously. But yeah, a lot of the things that they're doing is the same as what we do here. So it's just a different environment, a different accent, the clothes might be a little more colorful or whatever, but
Mhm.
it's really not that much difference. And one of the things that I love about it is being able to be in a space or observe a space where everybody looks like me, or the majority of the people look like me from all
It's
walks of life.
healing. Yeah. After you deal with so much subconscious trauma in the US, to just see that it's healing and you might not even realize it. That was
Right.
one of the main things I noticed when I first touched down in Kenya, seeing billboards, toothbrush commercial, Pampers, black babies, black doctors on the television screen, black lawyers on a commercial, like
Mhm.
everything was black. And and then you realize when you go back home, like, wow, I am rarely ever seen or represented on television. It feels good to be represented in this way, seeing positive images.
Absolutely. And while someone is saying that, yes, media makes it appear that they live in huts and have no electricity, running water. Exactly. And of course, we know that there are places that might still be the case, but that's not
Yeah.
that's not the
Yeah.
whole that's not the whole place.
There
Not
there are many places that are like that, and there are many, many places that are not. So it's, yeah, and I think that, CNN and some of these media outlets, major media outlets, like really drop the ball on their responsibility to really showcase the fullness of Africa. And so, yeah, you can find everything, which a lot of us don't realize. You can find those same situations in the US. Because
Mhm.
I've driven across, been to 35 states. I've driven from Washington State to Georgia to Rhode Island. So going in the middle, I've seen
Mhm.
outhouses, where
Yep.
people have to use the restroom outside. Sometimes there isn't electricity, running water. We saw what happened in Texas. So when it
Right.
got too cold, so there, it's not that much different.
Well, thank you for letting us know that, because, like I said, there are a lot of misconceptions. Now, of course, we've mentioned Kenya plenty of times. Actually, I'm going to be traveling with you next year to go to Kenya, so I'm excited about that, to go to Kenya
And you're going
and
to
Zanzibar.
Zanzibar, Tanzania.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yes, and actually a friend of mine is over in Tanzania right now on a mission trip. So that was
Okay.
one of the things that, she was showing a lot of things. So I'm getting ready for that. So of course we know you do that trip, but you mentioned a total of 13 countries. Where else do you go over in the motherland?
Sure. So we have Tanzania on that particular trip. We also to go to Egypt in East Africa. And then we have a three-part trip in the South, in Southern Africa, where we go to South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And then in West Africa, we have the Senegal and Gambia trip, as well as Ghana, Togo, and Benin as one trip. And then finally, North Africa, we go to Morocco.
All right, and someone is asking, how long is the trip from from the USA to Kenya? Do you mean the flight, or do you
That's
mean
what
how
they
long
mean.
are you?
And I know because they ask me that all the time. I'm sure, but I'll answer both just in case. So the
Okay.
flight, typically, if you're like coming from New York, or just, it depends on where you're coming from in the US, right? We have to be specific because it takes 5 hours just to get from 5 to 6 hours to get from
Right.
California to New York. And so I always bring that up when I say, oh, it can take 7 hours to get to the coast of Africa in one of the coastal countries. And they're like, 7 hours. I'm like, wait a minute, to even go to Vegas, it could take you that long. If you're coming
Mhm.
from Florida, if you're going from New York to London, it'll
Mhm.
still take the same amount of time. So I like to point that out. But Kenya itself is in East Africa, so it would be a little further. What would likely happen is that you would have a layover in Dubai or London or Cairo or somewhere, and then get to Nairobi. So your flight again to that first stop might take you 7 or 8 hours, and then after your layover, you could change planes, and it, depending on where you're coming from, it could take anywhere from another 3 to 6 or 7 hours. So that is definitely a full day of traveling, getting to the East Coast, but so is Australia, so is Thailand, so is Bali.
Right. So I just said, just be ye also ready.
And be ready to have a fabulous time when you get there. It makes up for it as soon as you touch down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now there's one. Did you mention Morocco? Don't you do Morocco as well? Okay. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
think I
We
heard
have
you
a Morocco
say
trip coming up in September, and we
it.
have one in November.
Okay. Okay. And Egypt as well.
Yep, Egypt is also in September.
Okay,
Mhm.
so yes, and you know what? Forgive me, I forgot to scroll. I'm going to start scrolling the places where you can keep up with her and actually know where, how to get in on these trips, because you do have trips available for the rest of this year as well as into next year, as the trip I'm taking with you will be in May of next year. So
Mhm.
there's still time to get in on that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even some people like to, join trips at the last minute. Some people are just getting vaccinated, just starting to get comfortable. So if you want to join us in September, you're more than welcome. Just go to jelaniwomen.org and you'll find us there. And you can click on travel and you'll see all the itineraries.
Sounds great. Sounds great. So, well, speaking of traveling now, because we are still kind of sort of in a pandemic, even though things
Mhm.
seem to be getting better and the world is opening up more. How has that been? Because I know you've already been traveling.
Yeah, it's been a pretty tough journey for me starting off initially. I mean, it was the challenge we've never saw coming, right? And I'm sure so many of us feel the same way in different industries, but I felt like it was coming from me at all sides, being a small business,
Hmm.
small Black owned business that's also a travel business. And so when there were complete travel bans, there was nothing that I could do. And that's part of the reason, because we still had our mission for our nonprofit, for our 501c3, to raise money to support our youth programming. And so we created crownbyjelani.com for, our African accessories or head wraps. We have waist beads. Um, we have bonnets. We have so many different things. And that came as a result of the pandemic and not being able to travel for 2020. So the company wasn't able to have trips in 2020, but once the travel bans were open, I went because I still had a lot of work to do in meeting my
Right.
vendors, really making sure that they're okay, because we support Black owned, family owned businesses across the continent. And I just needed a touch point with them. And to be honest, I needed a break. I needed to get out of
Right.
there because I
Right.
am used to the way that I really deal with being in the US. Was so many things I love about it, but to combat the things that I really have issues with is to go rejuvenate myself and take a break and go visit Africa. And I've been doing that for 10 years, and that's how I've been able to cope. And
Hmm.
to not be able to do that with all of the extra racial things that were happening and kind of right in front of our face, as well as the pandemic and kind of being scared and not knowing what was happening, it was a lot personally and professionally. And but what I did is what Black women always do: we just figure it out and we just try to meet the occasion where it is. And we created a company. We created the Amazon best-selling coloring book and
Yeah.
the ebook, and we were just pushing out more things that, yeah, could support. I'm so thank you. I'm so glad that you have that. Um,
Yes.
it's just showcasing Black women all around the world, not just Africa. Just beautiful, bold, powerful images of beautiful Black women in some really cool locales. And there's a cool quiz in there where, geography quiz where you can guess each page what location it might be, and then there's an answer key digitally for you to check it out. But yeah, so I was busy working on those things, and then in October I felt comfortable enough to travel, and so I did, because at that point it was about my mental health. At that point I was like,
Right.
I really need to leave. And so I started off small, and then next thing I know, I was in Ghana in December, and I didn't leave Africa until I've pretty much been there for almost 6 months. I've only
Wow.
been in the US for probably a total of a month. So probably I was in Africa, yeah, about 5 or 6 months in Africa, and I spent like a month here. And I leave on Saturday. I'm going back, but that's also because work is picking up. We have those trips coming up, and I have a private trip. We do private trips. We have a families going to Morocco, so I'm gonna go support them. So yeah, so it's been very interesting, and we're still in it. So it's still been a process and a journey. We've created a completely different safety and risk management plan with
Mhm.
COVID safe protocols. And that was part of the reason why I spent so much time the last 6 months in Africa, going to my different destinations to make sure that it meets our standards, so that our clients feel safe.
Well, that's real important. And one of the things that you mentioned in that pivot, it also changed the way that you're doing the nonprofit piece. So we've talked a lot about the travel. So with the nonprofit piece, what is it that you are teaching the youth? How does that program work, and how can people get involved to help you, whether they're ready to go on a trip right now and support it in that way or not? What exactly are you doing, and how can people support you in that work?
Thank you for asking that. Yeah, so that's something I'm super proud of. That was probably one of the best things to come out of the pandemic. And right now, we have a countdown where people can pre-order. You could go to crownbyjelani.com and pre-order our online learning program, a course for young people, but it's also been created for young people and their parents. And in some cases, because I've had friends who are like, "Oh, I still want it." They just wanted to support, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I learned so much I still did not know." So it's really for anybody 11 and up, where we are really just trying to teach our full history, the fullness of our Blackness, celebrating our Blackness in all its glory, knowing that humanity was around over 7 million years ago, so that our history and humanity started in Africa. So Black history started 7 million years ago. If you ask me, it certainly didn't start 400 years ago at slavery. There's so much more to
Right,
cover, and there's a different
right,
lens to cover, to not just think about what was happening in Jim Crow, but what was happening when we were fighting for independence in different African nations. What was going on with both of us? Because when we change the way we see Africa, when we change the way that we respect and view and connect to Africa, it changes everything for us. And so we have to care about what was going on with our brothers and sisters, and they have to do the same thing. And so I think through this course, which is called Passport to Cultural Freedom, it allows young people to really see themselves in a different way, to learn so many different things, from the red, black, green flag, the Pan African flag, so they know that that's theirs, about our language and our dialect, and why there's a Black sound, and how Ebonics is not actually a bad thing as long as you know when to use it. There's so many things in the course, and historical references, that I think that everyone will be able to appreciate. And so that is actually going to start 4th of July weekend, but the
okay,
pre-order at the sale price that it is now is going on until Juneteenth. So we think it's a great way to celebrate Juneteenth, to be able to say, here's a gift for you, for a young person that you care about.
absolutely, absolutely. That sounds really exciting. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a piece of your program for youth that also helps them with getting passports? Because I know for some people, having the
Yes.
passport is a barrier.
Yes. So thank you for asking that. So there's actually three parts to Jelani Girls, and what we kind of did is work backwards. So there's actually some more distinctions I want to share. Jelani Girls is our 501c3, and that is the program that it's going after. So even if you don't know a specific child that you want to sponsor, you can actually just donate the cost of a program. But so I don't want the name to confuse you, because we're now a virtual online learning program. We are reaching younger children, because it used to be 14, 18. So now it's from 11 and up, and it's boys and girls. So that's
Gotcha.
that's an important distinction I wanted to make. And once you finish that program, we got a huge donation where we are able to automatically give applicable students or participants a US passport. We say
Wow.
applicable because we're going to walk them through the application. Of course, their parents still have to sign off on it,
Mhm.
and they do have to be like a U.S. resident, born in the U.S. And there's a couple other things that they need to do. But for all intents and purposes, if they complete the program, they would get a U.S. passport. And then the third part is they still might not be ready to travel. They'll be a lot more further along,
Mhm.
even as an 11-year-old, after taking that program, or being a part of our online program and completing that. But even if they're not ready yet, once they are ready, we will have trips where them and their parents or family members can join them to one of the countries that they will surely learn about during our course.
Well, that's really great, because I know I was good and grown before I got my first passport. Because during the time that I was in the military, as long as you were traveling for the military, you didn't necessarily need one. And
Right.
then, of course, the rules
Thank you for your
changed.
service.
Thank you. You're
Mhm.
welcome. But yes, I didn't need it, so I went off because I would get on the military plane, and I was all throughout Europe
Taking hops.
without it.
Yeah.
But yes, it's very powerful, to have that and to know that at any moment, if Americas, I could decide to get on a plane and go someplace else. So with that, I'm going to segue into something else that you and I have in common.
Okay.
Oh, yes. So you recently had an opportunity to visit Sierra Leone with African ancestry. So tell
Mm-hmm.
us a little bit about what made you go to Sierra Leone with African ancestry and what you were able to accomplish on that particular trip.
Of course. Couple things I want to do. I want to shout out my mentor, Dr. Gina Page, CEO, president of African Ancestry, because shout out to her. Without her, I wouldn't have been in Sierra Leone that soon. That was an incredible experience. And I did my DNA test kit through her with the Patriclan testing and found out that my tribe was the Mende tribe in Sierra Leone. And so their new president is, creating a space for us to welcome us home. And we were given citizenship. So now that that is officially my country, I also want to shout to the rooftop. Congratulations to the national football team today. They just beat Benin. They had to go into a neutral location to Guinea and they won. And so that means that they have made history. It's been 25 years since they qualified to be in the Africa National Cup.
Yeah.
So it's a big, big deal. And I'm super excited because I finally have a team that I can really root for because I'm the type of person, I just root for whoever is watching with me. But now
Right.
that's my team and I don't play.
Right.
So I'm so glad they just won like hours ago.
Oh wow, I
Um,
missed that. I missed that.
yeah. So
Yes.
and the thing is, I don't even know if this one was televised. I just had so many people that I met on that trip,
Mhm.
who they're talking to me and let me know. And I'm like, what's the score? Let me know what's going on. And so I just feel so much a part. And some people call me, they're like, because I'm posting on social media, they're like, you're so proud. You're just, they're happy to see the way that I am reacting to be getting citizenship because it's been amazing. I've always claimed Africa since the first day I stepped
Right.
down in Kenya 10 years ago. And what I've done as a Black American is decided that there's traditions or customs or things that I learn and appreciate about a culture in any country in Africa. I've been to 24 countries in Africa. I would pull that. I would try to incorporate that into my life, into my family. But now knowing exactly where I'm from and learning more about that culture and just having that ownership, it feels great. And it's been a really good experience.
Yes, and well, you already know this, and some people watching may know this. Just last week, actually, Dr. Gina Page, she and I did a live on the African ancestry on their social media, and found out that you and I are cousins. So
Exactly, we're
Monday tribe
cousins.
from Sierra, yeah, yeah, from Sierra Leone. So yes, that's something else we have in common. So we are.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say we're cousins, we're not just saying that.
We mean it.
yeah, yeah,
And you want to know
yeah.
what else we have in common? I also served in the U.S. Army
Okay,
Reserve.
yes. So yes,
So,
we are family,
uh-huh.
literally. So that's exciting, and to know that, and I look forward to following that same path and following that same journey to be able to get that citizenship, that dual citizenship as well.
Mm-hmm.
So for
Mm-hmm.
those who don't really understand what that means, what does that mean to have the dual citizenship?
What it essentially means is that in some cases, in some situations, different countries in different situations, you have to give up where you're from in order to get citizenship somewhere else. In this case, you don't. They're not requiring that, so I'm able to still benefit from the American privilege of having a passport. There certainly is privilege there, but I also get to benefit as an African American the privilege of being, having the rights of Africans in that particular nation. So that looks like I can open a bank business account and start businesses there, which you can do when you're not a citizen, but there's more red tape and it can take
Mm-hmm.
longer. And it's literally my right to be able to do that. I can own property there. So there's a lot of things. And also they're expecting that you would care. You take an oath. We did a
Right.
workshop. You really learn about the country and you should care about it because it really is your country. And what are you going to do to try to improve it or help it? And so I'm already working on things to see where I can help and where I can fit in and, where we can just be greater together.
That sounds good. That sounds good. So we'll definitely stay in touch about that as well, because even before I knew that we were cousins, I already had plans to do more than one trip with you. So now, definitely looking forward to doing that as well. So, just a question for those who may look to get out and see more of the world. What do you think is the value in really not? I mean, traveling for the sake of travel is great, but what do you think is the extra added value of being able to travel and connect internationally with a purpose in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's solely the point of travel to me. I know that, sometimes you go and you just want to lay there and be on the beach, and that's fine. But I think there's something so special, and there's a huge miss if you are particularly a part of the African diaspora. So you're outside of Africa and you're coming to visit Africa, and you don't take that chance to find a way to really connect. I think that can be a miss unless you're going there all the time and this is just one of those vacations where you just wanted to do something different. And because of that, our model for our trips is we are a vacation with a purpose, where we do dedicate one day to service, and we are distinctly different from a missions trip because we aren't pulling forward any message of religion, even though many of the women on our trips may be religious, but that's not what we're focused on when we're working with the young people. But we just want to connect with them. And the most important thing is to let them know that we care. And also, I think it kind of debunks the myth that a lot of the young people in these rural areas, when all they have is TV, they often equate the U.S., the United States of America, as to being white. And so when somebody from America does come to support them, or Europe, a lot of times they're white. And so they might sometimes get a white savior complex where they feel like the only people that can help them, or the only, it has to be somebody white. And I think that can do something to kind of creating a sense of, sure, they're appreciative, but I think it can create a subconscious of inferiority. And so I think it's really important to know that there's people who look like them very far away, who love and care about them so much. And we just want to spend that day letting them know that spending time, workshops, games, gifts, and just having that good time, that's what we're pouring into them. What happens is they end up pouring into us because that connection. So you end up leaving a lot more full than when you came. And so that is just something that has been so great for me. It's been healing for me. And I found that was the same response I was getting from women. And so I think that's what kind of sets us apart from so many different other travel organizations. It's been interesting for this year planning how we'll be able to still serve young people during this time where we want to make sure that we're keeping them safe. And so we're still working through that. But at the end of the day, they're at least going to get some money from us because we still want to. So we always give something financial, but we also like spending time. So either way, we'll still be serving in some capacity.
All right, well, that's good. And I'm definitely looking forward to many trips with you in that regard. Another question, and anyone who's watching, if you have any questions for Ashley, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments because we'd love to know what you want to know. So, of course, we know that this has been just very powerful for you as an individual. How should I put it? What things would you suggest to those who may be considering a travel lifestyle, whether it is that building it as a career or just making more space for travel in their lives in general? What suggestions might you have for someone who's considering? Because, well, you already said you don't have to be rich, so that's good to know.
No, you don't. You don't.
But what types of things would you suggest for those who might be considering a similar move?
Well, I think that the similar move piece is a wide spectrum. What I heard you say, somebody that maybe just want to add more travel into their lives versus somebody who wants to make it, a career opportunity or a company. I think those are two wide ends of the spectrum. And so I would say for the person that's trying to make it a career, make sure that you have created space for travel in your life first and gotten your feet wet there. Definitely check out my ebook, Black Girl Travel Hacks. It's 30 plus ways to definitely reclaim your time, because you can spend a lot of time researching and doing things. And I think those hacks can really cut down on that, as well as keep you safe if you're traveling alone, whether you're a solo traveler, man or woman. And it also helps you save money. When you've been that many places And it's not that I've just been to 104 countries. I've been to several countries several times on top of that. So I've been traveling a lot, for pretty much my whole life since I was 7. And so I just learned some things along the way that I think can help in that regards. And so, but if it's a business strategy, I'm assuming that you already have some experience. And I would just say you really need to know what your why is and who your target demographic is, because that can completely change the way you message and respond to, or just kind of put your company out there, or how you even set it up. Who do you want on the trips? Do you want it to be trips? There's so many aspects, because I think a lot of people get caught up with like, oh, I went on this trip, I had a great time, I should be blogging. But your strength is in
Mhm.
writing. It doesn't
Right.
necessarily have to be, but you really gonna have to find somebody else who is strong in that area. But instead of doing all of that, you might just want to think a little bit more critically about what did you enjoy so much about it, because it might be, there's so many jobs within the tourism and
Right.
travel sector that there could be something altogether different that you could be working on. I mean, you'd be surprised. There's literally in certain industries different types of pillows you sleep on in hotels. So that
Wow.
somebody had to figure that out. I mean, just it could just be anything. You might like the food industry, and it might not be writing about it. It might just be you might be good at taking photos. I mean, there could just be so many aspects rather than wanting to maybe start a full on business like travel company. And if you do want to do that, I would say you definitely just want to do research, and then maybe start off with doing a smaller trip or something for people that who will be honest and give you feedback. I think that could be a good start.
Well, that's good advice. 'Cause we're always hearing things about, people wanting to move out of the country. I mean, there's so many different things that folks are doing in regards to getting out into the world. And of course, we had a year where things slowed down. I haven't traveled yet, but I've heard a lot of people saying it's wide open now. So people
Mm-hmm.
are definitely getting back out into the world and, flying and all those sorts of things. So that's just good, information for those who might be interested in either starting a business or just getting out and doing more of their own personal travel. So now we've talked about some of the projects that you've got going on and ways that people can support. So at this point, we're getting close to our time. So those of you who've been watching for a while, I have a question, and it's a two-part question. And you would have had to been here and listened to what Ashley and I were talking about to answer this question. And we will select one person randomly who gets this two-part question correct. Okay. So the question is, I started to sing question is. The question is, what is the first country in Africa that Ashley traveled to? The second part of the question is, what country do Ashley and I both have heritage from? Two parts.
Nice. Great question.
What is the first country that Ashley traveled to in Africa, on the continent, in the motherland? Second part of the question is, what country do we share in common? African nation. So I'll give you all who are here and have been watching, listening, a couple minutes to drop that in the comments. So while you are doing that, you can just share with us, Ashley. I've been scrolling all the places where people can keep in touch with you. So please go ahead and just share some of that, or anything in particular that people should be on the lookout for.
Sure. So definitely, I actually just started my Instagram not that long ago, my personal one,
Okay.
Ashley in Company. Some people get confused and think that's the company. I'd like to point out that that's actually my last name. Until someone comes and changes it, this company is really my last name. And definitely go follow me there, because I need some more followers over there.
All
And
right.
come say hi. Come say hi, you all. So yeah, at Ashley and Company _ that's on Instagram. And then I think I just want to leave you. I mean, we talked about it earlier, but again, I just like to reiterate, we have about 4 more days until Juneteenth, and that is our countdown celebration of launching our online learning program called Passport to Cultural Freedom for young people, 11 boys and girls, 11 and up. I think it'll be a wonderful opportunity for them to learn so much about themselves, the world, and their place in it. And I think that, and not think, I know that they will have an opportunity to get a passport scholarship to them, a U.S. passport that they will be able to have and keep them as their own. You can actually check out that information. You can go to crownbyjelani.com and find it. But if you want to go directly to all the information about the course, you can go to jelanigirls.org/passport program.
Okay. All right. So nobody wants the prize? I haven't seen any answers in the comments yet. So
will they be able to see it later?
Yes, so I was just going to say, because of that, sometimes people are shy, or maybe you weren't listening closely. So what we will do, we will keep that open, that option open until tomorrow for 24 hours, until tomorrow at 9 o'clock p.m. So if you need to go back and listen again, or if you're catching it on a replay, we will go in and take a look and we will choose a winner. So how's that? And so basically the questions are, well, the two-part, what is the first African nation that Ashley traveled to? And as a hint, it will be the first African nation that I will travel to. And then the second part is, what African country do both Ashley and I have historical or ancestral roots based in? So that's the question.
If you know these colors, that's another hint.
Yes, I'm wearing two of the colors.
Yes.
Yes. So yes, we'll keep that open, and I'll make note of that. Keep it open until 9 o'clock tomorrow evening, and see who the winner is. And then once we determine who that person will be, we'll get in touch, get your information, and get that prize pack out to you. So once again, that includes a head wrap and a pair of earrings, actually the earrings that Ashley is currently wearing, and a travel and a luggage tag for those of you all who are looking to get out in the world and do some travel to Africa and other places.
And I'll also add in some African waist beads from the Ashanti region in Ghana.
All right, I was thinking about waist beads earlier today. Yes, yeah, and I need to go to your store. Aren't you? Well, speaking of Crown by Jelani, real quick, aren't you having a sale on the website as well right now?
You know, we probably are. I don't actually run the website in the sales team. I'm sure we are, because it's like Juneteenth and yes, on the t-shirts. We have like Africa inspired t-shirts, travel inspired t-shirts, and yes, the sale is running all month long.
Right.
So my team is working on that, so sometimes I forget.
Right. So even if you don't win the prize pack, there are some things that you can pick up from the website as well.
And please do, because 100% of it actually is what's funding our Passport to Cultural Freedom program for students who need scholarships.
All right. Sounds good. So glad I brought that up so people know to go there and shop as well. So thank you so much again, Ashley. I appreciate your time and coming on and looking so beautiful this evening in your garb and your earrings and everything.
From Kenya.
From Kenya. All right now. Yeah, I can't wait to shop. I'm thinking, okay, how much money do I need? How much money do I need?
You actually need very minimal money as it relates to the trip. But shopping is a whole nother budget.
A whole nother
ballgame. The trip is taken care of. By the time you get there, there's not much else you need to do, but you do need a little extra coins for shopping.
Right. I will definitely keep that in mind. So thank you again, Ashley, for being here with us. And once again, that contest is going to be open until 9 p.m. on June 16th, and that's Eastern Standard Time. So please drop the answer in the comments, and we will randomly choose one of the folks who gave the right answer. So thank you again for your time, Ashley. Thank you for everyone who has tuned in. Thank you to those who will tune in, and we appreciate you and look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a good night. Thanks, Ashley.
Pleasure.
All right. Bye-bye. All right.